the station, and we walked together. Luckily, I've got nearly photographic memory. I remembered every path, every bush, every tree there by heart. So it didn't cause me any effort to get to N's house. One small problem: it disappeared. I was expecting anything. That N's flat would be sealed, that his neighbors wouldn't remember him, that the house would be empty and abandoned, but I was absolutely not ready for flat, grassy soil in place of the building. There was no way I had taken the wrong path. I could see the playground covered in rust. I could see the streetlight, under the light of which I saw that. I could see the garages in the distance where I met Micah, and even if it was all just a similar neighborhood, there couldn't be the second store with that idiotic name Tina, neither here or somewhere else. With shaky hands and trembling voice, I walked into the store. I asked the shopkeeper where was the nearest residential building. I must have looked like a madman because her replies were careful. It turned out there was another five-story nearby. I even went to check it out just to be sure. Definitely wasn't it. I had to walk there for 15 minutes, even though our late-night alcohol expeditions lasted 5 to 7 at most. And I went in anyway. I made it to what would be N's floor, and I pressed the doorbell of the flat with his number. The door was opened by a fat old lady with one child in her arms and another one beside her. "How long have you been living here?" I asked. She shut the door. "Well, I've still got some time. Until the dawn, I've been looking for the house, walking back and forth. I still hope that I just took a wrong turn and came to the wrong place. A couple of times I tried to call N. I don't know what I was hoping for. Invalid phone number. It's no surprise." When it was already dark, I went back to the station with empty hands, empty stare, and an empty head. Not the slightest evidence of N, or the house, or Micah, or, fuck, anything. It only got worse. Or, so I thought. Because it did not only get worse, it rapidly descended into hell. Wasting my weekend and tons of nerves like that, I came home exhausted and immediately fell asleep. I don't even think I undressed. And in the night, I got woken up by, you guessed it, knocking to the front door. My front door. Bang, 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 bang. It was almost funny. I recognized the rhythm way before I even woke up. I even remembered a couple of nightmares with it. I knew for certain who was at my door. My old quote-unquote friend. And where did Micah and N go when I needed them the most? And now it was too late to pretend that this was alright. It wouldn't let me. The knocks that returned every night wouldn't. A couple of times it tried to trick me, yanking the door's handle. And it never used a doorbell, just like Micah told me. Except, that happened way more often than several times a year. It was night by night. The rhythmical knocks were keeping me awake like an alarm. How could such a hollow sound wake me up? And even though in the morning everything was coming back to normal, the rest of the night was a real-life nightmare. I was shaking under my blanket, pretending to be asleep. I don't know what would be worse, if I saw him or if he saw me. I mean, right? I didn't want to know how it found me, and what did it need? I tried not to think of it at all, as if that would help me. But, it's hard not to think of a pink elephant when it so diligently reminds me of its existence. At first, I tried to ignore it, to get used to it, and then I struggled to get my thoughts together at work because of lack of sleep. I decided I couldn't go like that anymore. I came up with a bullshit theory about self-hypnosis and hallucinations, and it calmed me down a little bit. I visited a psychiatrist, and I bought some meds. The latter helped. Barbiturates were putting me into the state of oblivion, and a cannon shot couldn't probably wake me up. After a week of such therapy, I felt the possibility of coming back to a normal life. However, I was not ready for what was to come, for what was still going on. Every morning I see my neighborhood, the one I've spent my whole life in. I know it down to the smallest details. The tree next to my window, a playground, a school far away, a fuse box, and the houses. An 8-story to the right, 2 9-stories in front, a a 12-story to the left, 4 houses, and then it was 3. When one of the streetlights disappeared, I could make up an explanation and ignore it. When the tree next to my window went missing, I convinced myself it got cut down. But when a whole fucking house sunk into oblivion, that's where all my efforts to keep calm had ended. Worst thing, though, the worst thing was this was all just the beginning. About 2 weeks later, I noticed the eerie silence behind the walls. I used to always hear the voices of neighbors and some everyday sounds, like a TV or a dishwasher. The walls in my house are quite thin, but now there's nothing. Just bang, 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 bang. You can probably guess why my neighbors got quiet. I learned how to ignore those sounds, but there was no way I could get used to the quietness, even though I honestly tried. My patience ran out on one of my working days. Don't you hate it when your working day starts with the disappearance of your office's front door? Yeah, hashtag relatable. Even worse when the fucking office itself disappears. I just stood there like an idiot, in a suit with a tie, and stared like a fucking idiot at an empty white wall, behind which, and I'm sure that, there was nothing. Literally nothing. Going back down the stairs, I asked the cleaning lady where was the office 51. She looked at me just as perplexed and responded, I don't know. Bitch, you've been mopping the floor here for years. How do you not know? In panic, I ran outside and I looked at the building. Number 8, Building 1. I checked the address with Google Maps. It's right. I could not have been mistaken. The address I've been going to every day for 3 years, everything was right except my office, in place of which now was a barren wall. Well, I had nothing to do but go home. While I was going home, the shock retreated, and the thoughts magically came back to sober. Apparently, to distract myself from the main clusterfuck, I thought about another problem. I was now left with no fucking income. Even worse, I was close to my supposed payday, which meant that the previous salary was almost fully spent. Yes, I could try freelancing or looking for another job, but it would take time without any guarantees. Just as I jumped out of the metro, I called my most altruistic female friend. All of you probably have a person who you owe a fuck ton of money to, and yet keep asking for more, promising to return everything. So do I. Well, did. I set my voice to the irresistible charm mode and got ready to beg. And invalid phone number. I started swearing out loud. I didn't care about the judgmental looks of the pedestrians. You fuckers will all disappear anyway, sooner or later. I didn't want to believe that this shit was getting closer and closer, but deep down I knew. Deep down I knew it was nearly over. There was no way back. Fuck. On my way home, I called 20 more times and listened to the cold voice of the answering machine 20 more times. I wanted to know that the friend I couldn't care less about earlier was at least well and alive. When I arrived, I stormed into my flat like a bad man and I jumped my computer. The absence of neighbors lets me act loud. Convenient, huh? I started looking for her VK profile, and of course, page not found. What else did I even expect? Not giving a fuck about what people will think of me, I committed a mass messaging of the question. Hey, you know, insert username, where did she go? And the answer, oh, so fucking predictable. I'm sorry, who? Fuck you. Fuck you. Oh. So, dear Anons, what do? Go to the psychiatrist again? Excuse me, I've got disappearing houses, offices, and people. May you prescribe me some pills? What, do I ask my friends and relatives? What will they do? Probably just disappear too. So, yeah, I just keep waiting. Instead of all mentioned options, I lock the front door, close all the curtains, lit a couple of candles, subconsciously trying to pay less bills from doing this, and I sat at my computer and I just started writing. Unhurriedly so. I mean, I won't ever be late anywhere now. I carefully remember every detail of the past events. I try to be detailed. I use literary expressions. I even sketched a writing plan before the start. I who has always hated school essays with a burning passion, am doing all of this. Cool, huh? At the end of the day, the life of mine was quite mediocre. I'm not gonna lie, the knocker story was the most... it was the most gripping, the most exciting story of my life. Nothing before can outshine it, and now nothing will. And because I want to leave something meaningful behind, something to be remembered for, why not to make this the something? Honestly, I don't even know whether the internet will see this at all. At least it's on the internet, where there are potential readers left. Maybe no one will ever read these lines. Maybe I'll get lucky, and some creepy pasta narrator will spread the word. It's been a little over a week since I started writing. By this time, the number of my VK friends went down from 200 to 50. I would want to believe that I'm just losing popularity. I truly would. A shame that disappearing accounts debunk that illusion. Most of my phone numbers become invalid. Some just disappear. Once, out of entertainment, I decided to visit my neighbors. I even came up with a couple of explanations, like asking for cigarettes or wondering if someone's knocking on their doors at nights. I, dirty, unshaven, and stinky, stepped out of my flat, and this little maybe very quietly collapsed as I saw empty concrete walls in place of neighbors' homes. With my head as empty as those walls, I went back to my flat, locking the door again. Ever since then, I've never tried to go outside. Several days ago was the last time I ate. My ribs can be played on like a xylophone. I ran out of cigarettes, tea, canned food, and the water supply is unstable. But I don't give a fuck, there's still internet and electricity. Therefore, there's still hope to finish my tale before I disappear completely. No, that's it. The world doesn't disappear. I do. Just like everyone else who met the knocker face to face. And perhaps in a parallel universe, N is reaching out to our common friends, asking me where I went. Micah is mournfully shaking his head, and my boss is trying to find his missing employee. Or maybe not. Maybe the world truly is descending into madness. And if that's so, then this story will not be read by anyone. I don't care anymore. I mean, it will be soon over anyway. As I'm writing these lines out of my window can be seen an absolutely empty land. No trees, no buildings, no roads. Only their place. Only flat, dug-up soil. As if a huge grave to the whole world. I've been sleeping a lot lately. The sleep has always been a good method to fight stress for me. And besides, I got nothing else to do. I sleep, and I dream of soil. Crumbly, wet soil surrounding me from all sides. I go through it like it's air, and to the left of me are rows of muddy windows. I realize I shouldn't be seeing them through dirt, and yet I do. My peripheral vision treacherously notices everything. There, behind the glass, moves an enormous, tightly stuffed mass that looks like fused bodies of dying reptiles, like a worm infestation, like white noise. I don't want to know how it truly looks, but deep down I know anyway. It will be akin to the creature crawling along the house's wall. It is derived from me, from the shine of my own eyes, from the movement of my shadow, from the sound of my footsteps. It's seeping into my skin like water into the sand, and it keeps moving inside of me. There is no escape from this. There is no end. Perhaps there is no beginning. I'm not sure whether the world has ever been different, or I came up with it out of boredom. Maybe there has never been anything but soil, but windows, endless steps, and the shake of something under my skin. I'm already not afraid to think what will happen when the dreams disappear.
Hi, Bubbles. How are you doing? Sorry, I was engrossed in my game. How are you tonight? Mm, there. I only streamed for a little bit, but I'm really tired from going to the gym today, so I'm probably gonna get off. I will stream a little more consistently